Hi guys, it's me. Amy's gonna be coming on in just a minute. Sorry we're a little late. You'll see why we're a little late when we start going around, because this place is amazing. She's getting me my notes and the books and the things.
Do you need the book right now or no? Let's get to that later.
I don't think I need the book right now.
Am I on?
You are on.
Hi.
So, yeah, we're a little close, but hi. Hi, Len. Hi, Bill.
All right.
And I'm hoping we have our mics working properly. We did test correctly.
Trying again.
Trying
Round
again. Round two.
So hopefully these mics are working and we don't have to yell. But if they're not and you have trouble hearing us, please let us know.
Yeah. Hi, Sally. Hi, Joey. So yes, we are here. We are outside. We will be going inside in a little while. Also, if you do hear some, oh, that was you. I'm like, who's texting me? Why is Amy texting me? Standing right next to me. If you do hear some working, that is because there are workers here outside of the Clay house, which we will show in a minute, doing some updates. So first things first, before we really get into the history, because there is a lot today, we want to give a big thank you to the Nick Schneider law firm for allowing us to come in and tour.
Absolutely.
And letting us go through the house. There will be some spaces where we're going to kind of go through quickly because they are working and we don't want to interrupt their work. But there's definitely a lot of cool stuff to show. So don't worry about that. And then also, if you guys have not voted today or yet, I need you to vote for us for History Loves Company, Best Virtual Program, for Best of Cobb.
Yep.
Also,
today is the last day to vote.
Yes, until midnight.
Yep.
Also, we are under that category: Best Museum, Best Place to Take a Tourist, and Best Historic Site.
Yes.
So there's 4 total.
4. Vote for all 4.
Yes, vote for all 4. And if you have multiple emails like we do, you can use every single email you have and vote multiple times.
That's right. I got to vote today.
I voted earlier.
So maybe I should put mine up on my mask like you have it.
That's what I'm doing because I'm hoping that...
Mom, do I need to move my mic up? Let's see. I see my mom watching.
Your mom's... Yeah.
So speaking of my mom, while she's on, because I told her to watch because I was wearing something special today. And let's see. I'm on my tippy toes. Okay. Today I've worn something special for...
Do you want to get in front so it's not backwards? Go in the front so it's not backwards. All right. I'm going to turn it around so you guys can read it properly. Oh, hold on. I got to actually turn it around.
Oh, turn it.
There you go. There you go.
Today I'm wearing, this is my grandfather's World War II uniform, one of his. I can't button it. I'm just not even going to go there. But his last name was Ray. So the reason I'm wearing this, it does have something to do with the house. And that is that part of today's Clay house story involves Lucius Clay, who was probably the most important person internationally to come out of Marietta. He, on an international and national scope, he is unbelievably important to our nation's history. And he grew up here in this house, and we're going to talk about him in a little bit. But since he was a General Lucius Clay, general during World War II, I am wearing my World War II uniform of my grandfather. So, shout out to my grandfather, William Ray.
Yep.
And my mom.
In the Army and all. Yes, thank you. I did guess, guys. I did guess why she was wearing that today. That's how well I know her. I was like, oh, I know. It took me a minute, but I figured it out. If you guys are wondering what's behind us, that is the Confederate cemetery. But so this house actually had a view of the cemetery. Again, that's what I want in my future, is a view of a cemetery. That's what I want in my backyard. But so what was behind Amy when she was first in that picture is the stairs to the Clay house. So what I'm going to do, Amy, is actually take this back a little bit.
Yeah.
Just so we get a better idea and scope, guys. So hold on. Let me flip the camera around maybe instead of seeing my forehead. There we go. All right, so if you are not familiar with the location of this house, let me do one quick turn. So the cemetery is in front of me. That is Atlanta Street, and this is like that little offshoot of it. It's coming right there. You can see all the traffic. Train came by earlier. There is the law firm. Again, shout out to them for letting us be here. And this is the little pathway that I'm actually on. Dig that. All right, let me get far enough back. Hopefully we can get a really good
look look at how the bricks are, what would you call that? Like a half moon? Like
Half moon, yeah. It's like it is a full-on like drainage.
It's a drainage system. Isn't that
So
awesome?
I did not bring with me, guys, I'm sorry, the picture of this house from 1899, but it is on our Facebook page from yesterday. So this is the 1889 built clay house. This was not the first house that Alexander Stevens Clay and his wife Fanny lived in.
Right.
That was on Cherokee Street.
Did we ever determine which house that was?
It's still there. It was the Spicer house.
It was the Spicer
House
Okay.
at one point. Sorry.
I did not take a chance to look at which one that is. So
I don't. But it is still there.
We'll
It
have
is
to
still-
look that up, and if anybody lives in the Spicer house, that's.
Well, that was the like.
Did he build that one though? Alexander Stevens Clay.
That I wasn't sure of. He sold it to Thomas Reed, not the same Reed as you, R-E-A-D.
Yeah.
And but I don't know if he had it built. I forget off the
Okay,
top of
so
my
that
head.
was the Spicer house. Now, quick. I know you know the answer to this, but trivia question. So the guy that built this house, he was Senator Alexander Stevens Clay.
Not at that point.
Not when he was born.
No, not
obviously.
in 1889.
Regardless, eventually he was a senator. He became a senator. Whatever.
He did.
He
No,
was
no.
born in 1853. That's not helping. Why was he named after Alexander Stevens in 53? I guess he was a statesman. So
He was.
he
That
named
is
after.
what it is. His
Yeah.
Alexander
I was going to
Stevens.
say maybe he was born after the war, and then that's
No,
why
no,
he was
no.
named after Alexander Stevens.
Alexander Stevens Clay
Uh-huh.
is named after Alexander Stevens, being vice president of the Confederacy.
Yes.
Because he was a statesman, and his
Yes.
father, Clay's father, was
I thought he was a farmer.
he was a farmer,
Oh.
but Lord. People in other professions can respect other things.
What?
It works like this.
Really?
It does.
Okay.
All right, normally we would go from the beginning of this house to today, but I am going to go from today
Flipping
backwards.
Flipping it.
You've seen the exterior of this house.
Today it's a law office.
Law office. And the company actually moved into this building right before COVID shut us all down in March. So they haven't even been here in the building for a year. Prior to that, the first time Amy and I kind of got a little peek in this house, it was owned by another company and a gentleman named Ken Kirk, who still has items in it, which you'll see later. He pretty much owned the building from 1995 until last year.
2020.
Yeah, that's what year it was. You'd think it would be great.
I know.
But the part that really, when I found this out, I don't run, but I shuffled over to Amy's office real quick and said, guess what? The Clay house from about 1985 to 1995 was owned by Roswell Street Baptist, and they used it as an unwed mother's home.
Yes. And the reason she ran to me, not only is that cool, but also one thing that I am fascinated with, for a variety of reasons, is, what happened to young unwed mothers when, back in the day it was not acceptable to even admit you were pregnant, much less, have a baby in public or with your family. And we know that there were homes like this, but even going further back in the 60s and 70s or 50s and 40s, and a lot of times they went to Atlanta. And so the fact that there was one here, I had never heard of that before, even though it wasn't here until the 80s.
Yeah.
But still, I am still curious and always wondering, if there was a local house like that even before the 1980s.
Oh, yeah,
So,
gotcha.
because the personal stories that I know about, they went to Atlanta for that situation. So
Right. So the reason in 1985 that the home was purchased by Roswell Street Baptist is because the previous owner had passed away in 1984. So the previous owner, which was S.A. White and his wife, who we'll talk about him in just a second,
Okay.
they had the house from about 1941 until 1984 with her passing. Now, if you're not familiar with S.A. White, and S.A. White Oil Company is actually just down the road, so it made sense to be,
right
literally
there.
down the street from work.
Down Atlanta Street.
And if you watched our video on the Atherton explosion in October, we discussed S.A. White because S.A. White was one of those that was tragically killed in that explosion.
In the Atherton explosion. He was, yes.
October,
and his
Halloween night, 1963.
Yeah. His granddaughter,
Kim Gresh.
Gresh, still is at S.A. White. It's still there. She actually this week was named the Person of the Year for the NAACP Awards.
Oh, I did not know that. I did
Yes.
not.
So shout out to Kim. Great job.
So and Kim's mother actually grew up in this house. So so that kind of gives you the history of everybody who was in this house before the Clays.
Yeah.
And so first off, I really appreciate when there's not a whole lot of owners, because then it's like it's a lot
easier to research.
A little easier to get through. So as I mentioned before, this house was built in 1889, and it was actually built by Black & Sons, one of the local businesses, and
lumber company. We have some pictures of their building over the years. Yep.
But what is interesting about this house, and I unfortunately did not bring a picture of it, is if you guys have seen that wonderful book, Marietta, the Gem City, sold by our friends at Cobb Landmarks. We will have a link to that in just a second. It talks, the person who wrote that book, Douglas Fry, lives in a home on, is it not Reynolds? He lives in the old
Trammell Street.
Is that Trammell Street?
It's Trammell.
That's Trammell Street. The other side is the one.
Yes.
So the home he lives in on Trammell Street, I'm going to turn this around, is literally this same design.
It's identical. Yeah.
Alexander Stevens Clay loved the design of that house so much, he asked Black & Sons to repeat it for him.
Yeah.
So
now I want to go inside that house and see if it's laid out the same.
That's the one thing.
Doug, if you're watching, we would love
one
to go
thing
to
that
your
was said, that Doug said was, though, Clay wanted the floor plan on the inside reversed.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the only difference.
Yeah, but
so
the
that's why I need to go.
The exterior looks identical, so I don't know how it was reversed, unless our photograph is reversed, and who knows? We need to check that.
Yeah.
Inquiring minds need to know.
So if you guys look at that picture from yesterday when I did the then and now, you'll see a lot of these same details from the house in 1899, when it was about 10 years old at that point.
Yeah. And this house is in that book, too.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And it is in that book. And I'll talk about another one in a second that's in that book. But this house has a lot of detail on the outside. Same with the Trammell house. It has the details too. But that then and now picture, the one from 1899, there is definitely some differences. You guys can see, if you look, I'm going to show you. Just above, if you notice that square window right in the middle, maybe you can go over there and like point. Can you be Vanna for me, please? So like straight up ahead, right there, that would have been an open sleeping porch. So, and then this porch was a little bit more enclosed, and then this side porch over here was more open. And then also, can you go over to this side and point to that house for me, this one? This is also a Clay home for the first son. So let's get into some people before we go inside.
Let's go up to the porch area because our books are up there.
Oh, it would be helpful if I studied. All right, so I'm going to turn the camera so you guys can see. Again, they're working on putting new banisters and railing in just to, get onto code. But look, okay, so it's kind of hard to see since the paint is all white. But look at the detail. And I can get up a little bit closer too. In the picture from 1899, the gentleman who took the picture was actually from New York. And it took me a minute to figure out that it was this house. And I think the reason that he took a picture of this house is because this would have been like a celebrity home.
Of course.
Like you're talking a U.S. senator.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
let's
around.
Not have that.
Let's look at that.
Oh, why am I turning that around?
I know.
Lord Almighty,
we'll learn
Christa.
one of these days.
Oh, look, you can see the roof.
Yes. That
these?
blue, if anyone's wondering, when you see historic homes and the porch is painted a light blue underneath, that is called haint blue, H-A-I-N-T, the haint blue color, because it's going to scare all the haints away, or haunts. Haints, haunts, same thing. So that's why they used to paint their ceilings of the porches that color.
Can we get the front of our building ceiling painted blue? We got lots of haunts.
I don't think that's historically accurate, Christa.
Why not?
Because we didn't have blue on there.
Fine. We also didn't have Marietta Museum of History on the building either, but that's there. So, all right.
We're missing an M though. If anyone wants to replace our M, that would be great. Thanks.
We'll find one somewhere.
Shout out.
All right. So you guys can see that front door right there. I cannot wait to walk through it with you. So let's talk about the Clays. We're gonna.
Oh my God.
We gotta focus.
So much to say.
Focus.
So much.
Let's start with this.
Oh, I love this family.
Daddy. I'm gonna call him Steve because that's what everybody is, and we're on that kind of basis with names and these people.
Steve? I don't think he'd be a Steve.
That's what he was called.
I think he'd be a Steven. How do you know he was called Steve?
Because when they put quote Steve in the articles, that's what it's.
Oh, okay.
Did you spell it that
Paint
way?
blue. That's how I spelled it.
Oh, I
Sure
wasn't.
enough.
I wasn't listening when she said that.
Ha! See, I'm not the only one that doesn't listen. Okay, so Steve.
So you have Steve.
All right, Steve.
Born in 1853. Very, very important, everybody. He was and is the only United States senator born and raised in Cobb County. Johnny Isaacson was not born in Cobb County.
Right.
So we have had one United States senator born and raised in this county.
And you can see what he looks like if you go to the Marietta Square, because that statue in the square is Alexander Stevens Clay.
It is.
There you go.
So this, he was born actually in Powder Springs. What brings his father up here is land. His father was a younger son from South Georgia, comes up to North Georgia, as he calls it, and has a farm here.
Mm-hmm.
The family were not slave owners. They were actually working their own farm because, again, it's that assumption, but I did wanted to put that out there. It was the book we have about Lucius Clay, he talks a little bit about it. But anyway, that's what Steve does. He's a farmer's child, and he's working the farm.
Mm-hmm.
The person that educates him in the beginning is his mother. Of course.
I mean, that's a given.
Given. Edna. Edna's the
But
one
she
too.
didn't have virtual learning to deal with.
No.
I mean,
So she is educating her son, and she realizes pretty quickly that he's a smart cookie. And so at 17, she gets him into college, Hiawassee College, and he goes to school. He then comes back and becomes a teacher. One of his students, he falls in love with.
woo! Like that's the first time that's
I know,
ever
right?
happened.
Fanny White, and he and Fanny marry, and that is, so you have Steve and Fanny. Again, we're all first name basis here.
Steve and Fanny. That's
And
so sweet.
But what he's
Do you
doing,
think that name will ever come back around? You know, old names
Fanny?
come back around. I just don't think Fanny's going to come
I
back.
think Francis would, but not
Yeah.
Fanny is. Yeah,
Yeah.
Francis for sure.
Yeah.
But he uses teaching as a way to supplement his income in order to study the law.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big, I mean, you still see it today. Law and politics are all, not butting heads, but are always like kind of
Yeah.
one-on-one.
Yeah.
So that's what gets him involved in politics too, is him being a lawyer. I'm not going to get into all this whole legal life, but he works his way up.
Mm-hmm.
Steve works his way up through the political system within Georgia, state house, all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when they're having their children. So they have, if you don't mind grabbing me a piece of paper, it should be yellow. I want to make sure I get everybody's name correct. There we go. So the first child is Eugene Herbert. We've talked about him before.
Mm-hmm.
He's they're all characters,
Rowdy.
but he tends to be the one we talk about the most.
He is rowdy. They're all rowdy. We'll find out.
Yeah, they are.
We'll hear about that.
Then you have Alexander Stevens Jr. He goes by Lex.
Yes.
I'm like, that's a great
I know.
name.
That's a good name.
Then, so this is 1881, 1886. So we see a little bit of a gap there. Frank Butner comes in 1889 or 1888, excuse me. So they have 3 boys by the time this house is built.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Ryburn Glover. There's a great name.
Yeah, Ryburn.
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 Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Then you
Oh,
have.
Ryburn Glover?
Yes.
Oh, I just
See,
saw
she
that.
just listened too, didn't she?
That's great.
So that's 1880, 1891. 1896, you have the lone girl, Evelyn.
Mm-hmm.
It just says Evelyn V. I couldn't figure out what the V was. I hope it's something good. I hope I can find out eventually. And then last but not least, April 23rd, 1898. Lucius. Now, the pronunciation is?
Dubignon, right? It's French. I don't do French.
I don't either.
Dubignon.
Dubignon. Yeah.
Dubignon.
But Dubignon is actually the last name of Steve's campaign manager. So that's where it comes from. I was like, well, that's kind of boring. I was hoping it was like some philosopher.
I was hoping it was like French aristocracy.
Yeah,
or
something like that.
You know? Yeah.
But supposedly the name Lucius, the Clays have a lot of like Roman names in it. And I'm like, well, you had 5 other kids. I don't see any Roman names in that group. But
yeah,
as we call him, Luscious Lucius Clay, because he's amazing.
Yes.
But when you read some things about Lucius, sometimes you'll see 1897 his birthday.
Yes.
That is not correct.
Right.
He lied in order to go to West Point.
Yes, about his age.
About his age, yeah.
They had to get him in somewhere because he got kicked out of Marietta High School, I think.
Okay, so
but then he left school. Okay, we're totally going backwards, but he left high school, went to some sort of technical school, and then got kicked out of that, and then came back and finished at the top of his class of 8 people at Marietta High School.
Well, the reason he got kicked out the first time is because he pushed the chemistry teacher out the window.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Love it. First floor window, though. I mean, not even a big deal.
And Lucius's thing was, well, he wasn't that much older than us, so, like, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah, it was. Okay, so let's talk about the kids and their rambunctiousness before we go in the house.
Okay, so, but let's...
No?
No.
Okay.
1896 is when Steve becomes Senator Clay.
Okay.
So you've got Herbert's 15, the oldest is 15, and the youngest is like 2 years old. So you've got this age gap, and you also have this family coming into a national spotlight. And it was interesting because the Senate back then didn't operate like it does today. They would have one long session and one short session. So the longer session, Dad would be gone, and Mom would usually go with him. Okay. So these kids are left either with Grandma taking care of them, and we all know what grandmas do.
Give in to everything.
Yep. Whatever kid wants, they get, because it's Grandma. And then also, you're in a town where everybody knows everybody, and if the child of the senator does something bad, are you going to say anything?
Yeah, no.
That's the senator's boy.
That's right.
You know?
Yes.
That's Steve's boy. Yes. It's okay.
They were unruly and undisciplined, to say the least.
To say the least.
Yes. All of them, including Evelyn.
Okay, first off, I'm going to say this. When you're the only girl, she has a daughter when you have an only girl with a whole bunch of boys, she's going to get spoiled. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, or she'll just cause more trouble. I don't know.
Both. So, all right. So you have Alexander Stevens Clay as senator. You've got these children running around, doing whatever, getting kicked out of school, trying to get them disciplined. Well, in late 1910, here comes a train, of course. Late 1910, the senator gets sick, and he ends up passing away while serving. And you know what's interesting? They actually lost 4 senators within like 4 months. 4 senators died. I was like,
gosh.
That's the craziest thing.
Wow.
Was that the part about Washington? I couldn't remember.
No.
So Clay has passed away. His wife is left with these kids. You've got the older boys causing trouble. I think, did I have it in there?
What?
I don't know if I had marked it.
No, these are my marks.
No, those are my marks.
Oh, this is the wrong book.
Yeah. Give me this for a second. This is, I know it's going to be backwards. I'll turn it around in a second. Actually, hold on. I'm going to turn it around so you guys can see.
Yeah.
We do not sell this book in the store, but this is the book that I've kind of based everything off of. If you can see it, it's Lucius Clay, An American Life.
Yes, I'll pull it up a little bit. Hold it still. Yes. Yeah. It seems to be well written, but it was written in the 90s. And the author,
sorry.
And the author I believe started working on it, researching for it in the 70s.
Yeah.
We might have to wait a second for this engine to go by. Y'all want to see a train? Hey.
Choo choo. About. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. So this author kind of made me mad today reading this. He describes Lucius's siblings. Herbert, we've talked about before, definitely had a reputation for many things. Then the second son, Lex, was described as dapper, handsome, and generally considered the brightest and wittiest of the Clays. He was also the most dissolute. Okay, great. You see alcohol being a big factor for them. Frank
Yes,
Butner,
unfortunately. Yeah, you do. And it's definitely ran in the family.
yeah, so the oldest two sons go to UGA. They don't do too well. Do you have that part in there before?
Yeah, so this book is And the Dead Shall Rise by Steve Oney. We've referenced this book before in a couple of different videos, and it's a book about the lynching of Leo Frank, but he talks about the Clay family because Herbert Clay is involved in that, so we can get into that later, but we do sell this book at the museum. So, but in it he's discussing the Clay family, and he says, let's see, here we go. This is talking about Herbert at UGA, though. At the turn of the century, Herbert entered the University of Georgia, an institution that he seemed to regard as merely a bigger and more diverting stage upon which to fraud. In short order, he went out for the football team, joined the Bulldog Club, and made himself a fixture at dances in both Athens and Atlanta. The dances, which usually featured ragtime bands, were inevitably triumphs for Clay, who quickly developed a reputation as a swain. Sandy hair swept back from his brow, eyes brimming with merriment or delivery, lips turned up in a teasing half-smile. He was the sort around whom girls fairly quivered. Years afterwards, a woman who was acquainted with Clay at the university said simply, "He was the most attractive man I ever met." The school yearbook, the Pandora, some of y'all may
Wait,
be...
did she say Herbert was
Yes, Herbert.
Here, you could see how attractive.
That's later in life.
Not much later.
He gained a little weight towards the end. The school yearbook, the Pandora, summed up Clay's sophomore year by pronouncing him a social success, while the students' newspaper, the Red and Black, cryptically denominated him "he with the pretty eye." But basically, though, for all his charms, he was a heedless, self-destructive quality to his sojourn at the university. He drank improvidently and fell behind academically. Worse, when inebriated, he became unruly, posing a threat to himself and others. During the fall of 1901, he was dismissed from the football team for unspecified training violations. Shortly thereafter, he was found wandering the streets of Athens, firing a pistol into the air. Before he could do any harm, he was subdued, but the administration was not amused and expelled him. And then later on, Lex is going.
Yeah,
and
hold on. Van, do you want me to hold up the book or the picture again?
hold it up right again. I'll have to turn it around. I'll hold it up right. Let me do this.
We do have this book in paperback at the museum. There you go.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We do have it available in paperback. We have a few copies left.
So, anyways, Herbert gets expelled from UGA, and then he ends up at Mercer in 1902, where he completed his undergraduate and law degrees. But then, a little bit later, the next brother, Lex, decides to go to UGA, and their father, Steve, Senator Steve, made a joke of saying, "The university ruined Herbert, and now I'm sending Lex here to ruin the university." Because Lex was even worse than Herbert.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second.
What? Oh, what? What? I don't know. What are we detailing?
All right, you ready? I'm going to read from this book.
Uh-oh.
Like Herbert and Lex, the high-spirited and undisciplined Frank, Senator Clay often told the story that the University of Georgia had ruined his first two sons, so he went and sent Frank to ruin the university.
I don't know
Which one
true.
is true? I mean, I would think
He
it's more.
sent one of us. You know, when you have a bunch of kids, you say the wrong names. I don't know.
But you think maybe after the second one ruined it, then you'd send the third one like
One of
third
those
time's
kids.
a charm.
I mean, one of those
but
kids
I'm like,
ruined
this
it.
is the funny.
Yeah.
I knew
Okay, that is so
sounded
funny.
familiar.
Same quote, 2 different books.
Yep.
Steve only probably used the Clay book for reference.
Maybe.
Anyway, so that was the UGA connection there. But Lex did not have a good story after that. Shall we go on to Lex? Did you show Lex?
I don't have a picture of
Okay.
Lex, but actually, you know what? I did not show you guys. Sorry, this one's a little pixelated. But this is Alexander Stevens Clay.
Yeah.
He has an awesome hairstyle in every picture.
Uh-huh.
Like he is full on. His
Like
hair
a
is.
pompadour.
Oh yeah, it's like it's right.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Okay, so...
Oh, hold on, wait. Let me show Mama too before I forget.
Oh, show Mama. Okay. Because Lex has a tragic story, so, you know, we're going to kind of go down the order of the kids and what happened to them.
I mean, unfortunately, majority of them have a tragic
Yeah, I know.
story. Hold on. Sorry, where are you, Fanny?
Fanny. Oh, wow, she's beautiful. This is Fanny. This is who was the matron of this house. There you go, when it was built. Beautiful.
Yep.
So these are all of her children we're talking about. So anyways, Lex, who is number 2 in the family of the children, it says, Lex, far from ruining the university, had been dismissed for drunkenness, and while he was nobody's fool, he'd become perpetually besotted presence on the Marietta Square. Meantime, Frank
Butner.
Frank Butner. Okay, so Lex ends up coming home and staying here. Is that right?
Yes, Lex stays with Mama.
So Lex, he gets kicked out of school. He is an alcoholic, unfortunately, and he ends up just living with his mother here in this home until he dies, I guess, right?
Yeah, he dies in 34. Yeah,
34.
he dies before her. Yeah.
Okay. So that's Lex. Then number 3 is Frank.
I do have a picture of Frank.
Okay, let's see what Frank looks like.
Uh-oh, you go grab those for
Oh,
me real
dear.
quick. Hold on. Okay, y'all, I'm just going to say this. Like, if Herbert was the one people thought was attractive, I'm like, Frank's not a bad-looking dude. I'm just saying. This is Frank. And you could kind of see Lucius in there, too.
Yeah,
if you're,
definitely.
But this is Frank Butner. This is him as a major, because he's majorly important. And
Yes.
literally, right before we got here, we found an awesome story, which we're going to tell in a second.
Yeah. So what Oni says about him is Frank, who had graduated from West Point, so I guess he went to UGA and then ended up in West Point.
Well, he didn't ruin UGA like he was supposed to.
Yeah. So he ends up at West Point, but he graduated there only. Golly, those police officers. Wait a minute. Oh, it's
No,
an
it's an ambulance. That's okay.
Sorry,
If it was
ambulance.
PD, we'd be
Yeah.
like,
So, Frank only graduates West Point because President William Howard Taft had expunged an embarrassment of demerits from his records. So he graduates West Point. He ends up in the Philippines, okay, with the military. He contracts syphilis while stationed in the Philippines. Ruh-roh. And after being discharged in San Francisco in the fall of 1914, this is before World War One.
well, it's during, but before our
Right
involvement.
before our involvement, yeah. He disappears. After he gets off the boat in San Francisco, he disappears. 3 months later, in an episode reported on the front page of the New York Times, Frank had turned up dazed and disoriented by the side of a road in Louisiana. So we go to the New York Times to look for this, and Christa finds it. What does it say?
Okay, so this is from January 18th, 1915. Lieutenant Frank B. Clay, son of the late United States Senator Clay, has disappeared in New Orleans and it's feared he has met foul play. Clay, who was 31, reached New Orleans just before Christmas en route to his Georgia home from the island of Guam, where he had served 2 years as military governor. I didn't know that.
I mean, I did not know that, and that seems to be a trend in the family. As rowdy as they were, he's not the only military governor in this family,
No.
and we'll
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. He had considerable money and was last seen in New Orleans in an automobile party. That sounds about right. At Christmas time, bloody clothing that belonged to the lieutenant was found on a lonely country road 7 miles from New Orleans. Clay's brother, Mayor Herbert Clay of Marietta, who was in New Orleans, believes that the officer is possibly alive and that he has wandered off in a fit of mental derangement. I do find the next day, I don't have it, that he was found in a town nearby.
Okay.
I don't know what happened,
So
but
then he comes home And he ends up dying from the syphilis.
Yes, in 1920.
1920. So he has a tragic ending as well.
Yeah.
Then their sister, is that right?
No, Ryburn's
Oh, Ryburn, that's right. Ryburn tries to get into UGA or West Point one and he can't get in, or he gets kicked out.
I did know that part.
Yeah.
No, he tries to go to Princeton.
Oh yeah, the family said no. You can only go to West Point or UGA. Sorry. And he says,
yeah.
oh yeah, well, screw you. I'm not gonna go to college at all then.
So he ends up becoming a banker.
Yeah, in Atlanta.
In
right?
Atlanta.
Yeah.
Well, guess where Ryburn Glover Clay Jr. ends up going to college?
Where?
West Point. I found that out today too. I was like, well, follow after your uncle's footsteps on that one. So this is the part that this book about Lucius that I do not appreciate about his sister.
Yeah, there's a little bit in here about her that's a little meh too, but
so she's the author describes her as plump, homely, and unable to compete with her handsome, successful brothers.
Fat shaming. Hello.
I don't appreciate that.
No.
Evelyn Clay flitted about on the fringes of the Democratic Party, living in the reflected glory of her father's reputation. The spoiled only daughter of a too indulgent family. She could not stay married and could not hold a job and shared the family's addiction to strong drink. Okay, first off, if you have one divorce, that does not mean you can't stay married. It means girl realizes her life is better without the man and moves on and has her own, goals.
Well, in this book, she is described, it says, and as for Evelyn, she developed, in her hairdresser's words, a little bit of a reputation. The former Lucille Sessions,
I'm hoping our mics
I know,
closer or
whose
better.
banker father was among the Mariettas who spoke at the prison commission hearing, was blunter. Okay, y'all, I mean, if this is hilarious. She had big bosoms and people talked about her. That's the worst they could say about her. And that's why she was loose. And the former Laura Margaret Hope, Bolin Brumby's niece, says, well, my Uncle Bolin told me, now, Margaret, you must not go with Evelyn Clay anymore. Everybody will think you're just as bad as she is. So she had a reputation. Whether it was warranted or not, we'll never know. We'll never know.
I'm really reading her obituary. First off, there was a mistake in it that said, because she does marry once, she has a daughter, she dies in 1960. It said she was the grandniece of another senator from Kansas. No, that's not correct. But I mean, it lists all of her accomplishments, and this is some serious, she was doing good work. She was a board member of the Southern Women's Democratic Association, a founder of the Interfaith Movement, a president of the Society of Political Study. She was a trustee for her college, which was Randolph-Macon Women's College, member of the, member represented Pan American World Airways. She appeared before the Civil Aeronautics Board, before the Interstate Commerce Commission. She's doing legit stuff. Mm-hmm. But do any guys put that in a book? No.
So she had big bosoms. That's what's important.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
That's noteworthy.
Oh my gosh, it drives me nuts so much.
Okay, and we don't have a photo of her. Right?
I don't have not that one I can find.
Oh, well.
So, last but not least is Lucius. Okay, guys.
Well, we haven't really covered Herbert yet, though. But
Herbert.
Before we
get
to
still
Lucius,
have a whole house to go through. That's my problem.
Really quick, I'm gonna on Herbert. So
okay,
Herbert,
Herbert.
Okay, Herbert is the oldest one, right? So he goes to UGA. Yep. He gets kicked out for shooting the gun, in the streets. Anyways, he still becomes a lawyer, and he eventually becomes mayor of Marietta.
I mean, the pathway was set for him to follow Dad's footsteps.
Dad's footsteps.
For sure.
So he's the mayor of Marietta. Then he becomes the judge of the Blue Ridge Circuit, Superior Court judge, I think, of the Blue Ridge Circuit, which is all of North Georgia. So he's like a traveling judge kind of going around. And so within that time frame, he is...
I think he becomes lieutenant governor, too. Let me grab my...
He does eventually, yeah. But he dies as lieutenant governor. But before that, as he's this judge, this is the time frame when the Leo Frank trial happens, which, is covered in this book. And he is one of the major players in organizing the minions, the men who go down to Milledgeville, kidnap Frank, bring him up here, and hang him in Marietta. So he's involved in that. He's also he's also another kind of intense situation that he's involved in, and not a great way, is this is Blood at the Root, a racial cleansing in America. And it talks about, this is a book, another book. I'll flip it around. Let me flip it around. I can do it this way.
Yeah, go ahead.
He's mentioned in here, so if you want to learn more about Herbert, okay, by Patrick Phillips, an excellent read. Again, I've mentioned this in other videos, but because there are so many Marietta ties, but this is talking about the Forsyth County racial, cleansing, if you will.
Yeah.
There's no other way to say it, that there was a mass exodus, forced exodus of all the African Americans in Forsyth County in 1912 and a little bit after that. And he was heavily involved in the trial that kind of was in the middle of all that, of a couple of African American men who were hung, lynched. And so he's involved in that as well as the judge, as you know, in a not so good way. So just remember this: Herbert Clay, he does eventually become lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
He is also a wild man. His wife, who he found this,
His first wife.
this gorgeous belle from Montgomery, Alabama, who was, kind of, they named her similar to like Zelda.
Yeah, it was that whole.
And what was
That's
the other?
Fitzgerald.
Zelda Fitzgerald, but then what was the other? Tallulah Bankhead, like that came out of this era in this Montgomery, Alabama. She's one of these beautiful belles. She ends up divorcing him. Yes, Van, your family made it out safe. Praise the Lord, out of Forsyth County, and we want to do some more research on that, on where those families that were forced out of Forsyth County, some of them burned out, literally, that made their way to Marietta. I definitely want to do some more research on that in the future. But with Herbert, so he's a wild man. He ends up dying in a sketchy hotel in downtown Atlanta with a hooker.
I was just saying, lady of ill repute. I was going to be nice to her. That was just wrong.
Well,
you don't know her situation.
The story, as the story goes, now his death certificate says he basically had a heart attack, but
it was a fatty liver and heart.
Yeah, something like that.
What it says.
Well, that could have been there too.
We all saw
but the other story is that a lady of ill repute hit him over the head with a liquor bottle and killed him.
Yes, you don't know what her situation is. Don't be calling her names.
I don't.
So really quick, before we get to Lucius, but we got to keep going because
okay.
I told you the Clays. That greenhouse, which I'm going to point to once more, guys, for you to see. Again, this was the home that Herbert had built. And maybe sometime we can get over there and go into there.
Yeah.
But it was built on this property, which was Clay property, about 33 acres that they originally had. And this home, the caveat was, Herbert, you can build that home and you can have that land, but you cannot sell that land without Mama and Daddy's permission, because they were so afraid of him having to pay debts.
Yeah.
Because they knew how wild he was.
Yeah.
So even he ends up dying in the 20s. So like the land, it was just the Mama's. What before we get to Lucius though, what ends up with Fanny, the mother, after the senator dies, she eventually becomes postmistress for Marietta for many, many years.
Yeah.
And until she dies in late 1940. And it said when she retired, she had 5 years of vacation. I'm like, girl, you can't be storing all that stuff. You gotta go take it. But
Sounds like Dan Cox.
sounds like many people. All right, so why don't we tour a little bit of the house before we talk about Lucius? Maybe we'll go upstairs and talk about Lucius, just because I want, time-wise, I want you guys to see
Get
it.
in the house.
We're going to go through the first floor kind of quickly, though, because they're working and we don't want to bother anybody. But upstairs is, there's nobody working.
Off of this while we walk around there?
Yeah, let's bring this in and we'll take it off inside.
Okay.
Just so I can leave this inside. But again, yeah, here's that porch and they're making the paintings.
You decided the Clays are like the Kennedys of Marietta.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Sorry if the view is weird, guys. I'm trying to go up here. So big door, the ceiling, columns.
Fixture's not original.
No. But this is a door.
Paneling
Paneling, entry, push. I mean, it's a legit door. All right, so we're gonna come inside. Much warmer. I don't think I need my bag, so. Again, we're gonna go through these rooms kind of quickly so that we're not, oops, sorry guys, that we're not,
I'm showing this thing. We were trying to decide.
oh yeah, hold on. So if you look at the door, that is the bell, that right there, so you would ring it on the front. But this little dude right here,
The current owners weren't sure what it was, so we were looking at it, and it clicks when you turn it. So we're wondering if it was to a light
Gas light.
Gas lights that might have been in the house. So we're wondering.
so yeah.
Got the
You see?
flash on it. It's light.
Oh, I'm sorry, hold on, hold on.
It's okay, it's just bright light.
There we go, is it off now?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got, I'm gonna try and step back as much as possible. These doorways are very big, so I'm not gonna be able to get all of them in, but you
Do
can see.
you remember what year the house on Washington Avenue, the Schilling House, what year was that built?
I think it was a
Look
few,
at this. Details are very similar. They had this same kind
Oops,
of
sorry, let me
detail
step
over
backwards.
their front entryway.
there you go, so there you
With
see like,
the, spindles.
I wanna say it was a couple years before,
Yeah, so similar,
very
but
similar.
within,
the same decade.
yeah.
But, okay, so this is the boss's office, and actually, I might have to turn the flash on, so watch what you're doing. So front windows,
Beautiful high ceilings.
all of them have high ceilings, so I'm not necessarily gonna go to all of them. I will say this, I'm gonna show this medallion, these are not original, so I'm not gonna look at every medallion.
Look
Just,
at these doors.
all right, ready?
Look at how.
I mean, I can't even get it all in the frame.
Doors. They go into the wall.
Yeah,
Um,
they're
slide
pocket,
in.
yeah.
Pocket doors, yeah, pocket.
If I'm gonna have an office in here though, like, which, you know, who knows? I'm gonna have this little room, and you could see Herbert's house right there.
Yeah.
It's this little sunroom.
And you said in pictures, earlier pictures, this was not enclosed.
Not all of it was
a
enclosed.
porch. It was
So
just
yeah,
a
so you
porch.
can see some details above the windows.
Yeah.
So-
Definitely exterior wall here, so that does indicate that with this kind of, wood on the wall, that it's
Yeah,
definitely an exterior wall. It wasn't like a sunroom eventually.
yeah, so let me go this way, but yeah, I gotta make sure there's one room they don't want me to go into. Let me show you guys the floor, actually, let me show you the floors over here, just where the sunshine is. They're a little bit wider plank, but they're not, a huge wide plank,
Another area that's part of the porch.
yeah. But
This is
we,
the wood siding on the, what's the word?
Yeah, the wood
I
siding.
said wood. I was like, siding.
all right, so we're gonna kind of walk through offices really quickly, so we don't bother people who are working.
Do you mind? Oh, okay.
So we're gonna show some windows, and I'm gonna,
This also was probably an exterior wall over here because you see that inside this office is a beautiful stained glass window.
all right, so this next room, I'm actually gonna point the camera down towards the floor, so you guys, just because, we gotta show these floors. So look at this, this is more of like a little kitchen area, but you can see some of the flooring differences right there. But it's a little kitchen area, so it's not really a modern. And then we've got,
This is different, so I don't think this was an exterior wall, but different kind of wood paneling. And then they have but I don't think this is original, the store. It could have been, but a secret.
yeah, there's not much to it.
But there's nothing, we don't know what that was for.
I think it's okay if we show that other closet where the flooring was.
Linoleum, yeah.
So again, the wood, you can see it's got, got the scratches on it, like they've been moving stuff
Yeah, check
around.
this out. We think this might have been S.A. White's time period,
But yeah,
like 40s, 50s, 60s, somewhere in there. So obviously this was part of maybe an original kitchen area or a bathroom, probably kitchen.
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So we're gonna keep going through. But again, there's some differences. The flooring, you got kind of, you can feel it going different spots. But we have the back stairwell here, which will go up in a little bit. There are 2 staircases in this building. You have the main staircase, which is right here, starts right here. That's that front door we just came in. And then,
This is fun.
let me step back a little.
Original,
No,
but fun. The last owner, is our understanding the last owner brought it in.
it's the elevator, people.
Yeah, it's some sort of elevator doors, possibly.
Yeah, but they don't go to
They have
anywhere.
this key thing that says in use, it's an elevator button, so, I don't know where it came from.
So I'm gonna step back a little bit, guys, so you can get a better idea of, this is a senator's home, so you have to be grand.
Yeah.
So, again, I showed you, but here's the stairs. This is what we're talking about. All of these rooms are really good size. Let's go into this conference room, Amy, since I know nobody's working in here. These doors were actually added. These are not original, but they're added. What it was, Amy, if you can, do you think you can see it?
Oh,
the
yeah,
columns. There were
right
columns here. I
here,
think this
it
side
says
had it better.
Well, I don't know.
No, I
There
can
was two.
Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do
You
that,
can
guys.
see the outline. There was a column here, and then if you went up, you could see it in the wall there. But you know, I still don't think those were original.
I don't think so either. But
I think
this,
these were pocket
put-
doors.
yeah.
They're like the white, or just open.
So you have a large. This would have been that large front room, but these. I mean, look at this detail.
Yeah,
Look at
this
how
was the dining
gorgeous.
room.
Yeah.
Most likely a dining room space.
Dining room or front parlor, meeting room.
Yeah, but I just don't know. But the
I don't know.
mirror, usually it's a dining room. with
Yeah,
the
I
mirror.
mean, look at. This is definitely the
Now-
most grand mantle of the house, I
Yeah,
think.
it's got original mantelpieces.
Let me go on the
and
other side, guys.
rooms, But the tile
Here's
around
the-
it is not original.
No.
That's a later.
So let you guys have an idea. It's a really tall. It almost goes to the ceiling. It's really high, big window or mirror, but then these windows, guys, are literally floor to ceiling. They are amazing. In what the camera can't pick up, but we do see it. They are wavy glass.
And you would have, they're low to the ground, of course, so that
Yeah.
you could have opened them up and have full breezes. In the summer, you could actually walk outside them sometimes.
And I mean, the
This whole
view is spectacular. I mean, it is the cemetery out there. It is spectacular.
Now, while
And-
we're in here, do you
yeah.
want to talk about Lucius in here in the quiet space, or to go upstairs?
Do you want to get the stand though, so I don't have to hold this the whole time? Oh, okay, good. I'll let her hold it.
That stand is just a lot.
It doesn't bother me when we're like standing still. Okay, let's turn it around. Here we go. So, okay. Lucius really deserves more than just the few minutes we're about to give him. I'm just going to say this now. It's which way? Oh, good. Smart for you.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that song. Lucius Clay, as Amy said in the beginning, is, I would say, if not number one, 1A with maybe Alice Burney. But
I still think he had more
yes,
of an impact.
yes. So on an international level, Lucius Clay, for all of his rough start and undisciplined early life,
And he was the baby of the family.
He was the baby.
I mean, talk about really undisciplined.
his father dies when he's 12.
Yeah.
There was something in the book that it was really interesting. He said as a kid he would go to Washington I think maybe 3 times with his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing as a senator's child you were allowed to do was go to the Library of Congress and get books. I mean, could you imagine if that was your library?
That's
like
the
that's my
library.
local library, is the Library of Congress. But that had a huge influence on him. He was a reader, and which I appreciate too. So he goes to West Point, and actually he is in the military, but kind of is stuck. Right? If I'm getting this correct, he's like lieutenant for a really long time.
Yeah, he wasn't moving up very quickly.
Because
he also had a lot of demerits.
Yeah.
So he was also a troublemaker. He didn't like authority, funny enough.
Yeah, he had demerits. Like he did good in his academics. It was discipline and code violations. And
Right,
that he
right. I think he said he was part of some group. What were they called? The Dirty Dozen at West Point, and there was a big group of guys who would go in this corner room of the officers' quarters, and they would smoke cigarettes. So that were a lot of his demerits, and drink alcohol, and do all the stuff that college kids do. And that was a lot of his issues.
So, well, when he graduates from West Point, it is the end of World War I. So he is in the military in this time period where they're kind of decreasing the size of our military, so there's not a lot of room for advancement for him. And so he, during the 1930s in particular, is this kind of floating around in the military. He does get involved in some of the WPA programs.
Okay,
But what you really see in 1940 is he does start to get a little bit more involved in aeronautics and aviation, because he's the one that helps in 40 or 41 to get a runway here.
Yes. Let me turn this way. I'll let you talk this way.
Okay, so he gets a runway. Oh Lord,
There we go.
it is bright. Sorry. So he does get a runway here. That runway in Marietta is what leads us to Bell. What is it?
Anna said we flipped off our mics.
Oh, hold on. Mine's on.
I don't
Push the
know.
button.
Aha.
Can you hear me, Anna? Please check. Mine's on.
Okay, mine just turned on. It was off. So
Okay.
okay, keep going.
So Lucius is, if there's a big three in Marietta that gets a lot of claim for Bell, Lucius is the fourth kind of secret Washington D.C. agent for us who brings Bell aircraft here. But it starts with getting that runway first.
Yes.
Bell wouldn't have been here without the runway. So thank you, Lucius. During World War II, Lucius, and actually you might be a little bit better at this part than me, Lucius starts to work his way up.
Well, no. By the time the war starts, he's a general. Here, you want to
Okay, yeah. Switch.
Yeah, we'll switch. Yeah, by the time the war starts, he's a general. He's General Lucius Clay, and his role. So to back up a little bit, after college, after West Point, he really wanted to go into artillery.
Oh, okay.
But his superiors in the military saw some of his skill set, and he ended up going to the Corps of Engineers. And so he became involved in engineering projects. That's why he was involved in, building airports and runways around the country. And so, anyway, so he has a skill set. He's good at planning and
that whole logistics. He's really good at logistics.
Yeah, planning large-scale projects. So once World War II starts, he is involved in organizing the contracts and where new aircraft plants are going to go. So that's how we got Bell, okay?
Right.
And he's really just involved in that, and for a long time, just the logistics of the war on that side. But again, he's a general.
Talk louder for right now, because
Okay.
they keep saying our mics are going out.
Okay, maybe it's the batteries.
Well, mine's fine, but...
So during the actual war, he really just plays that role as a logistics manager for the Army. Now, right after the war, they recognize his logistics skills. For those, I'm not going to go into a deep history of the Berlin airlift, but obviously after the war, Berlin is cut off from the rest of the world, and the people inside the city are literally starving. And so America, and this is right as the war has ended.
46 into 47, right? Yeah.
And America is trying to figure out a way to get the supplies, food and other supplies, to these people stuck in Berlin. And so he, along with others, I'm sure, comes up with the airlift plan. And so he is known as the father of the Berlin airlift. So he is the mastermind behind that. And then after that occurs, when American military finally get into Berlin, he becomes the military governor of Germany.
Yep.
So his brother was military governor of Guam back in 1914 or so.
Yeah.
And now here he is, 30 years later, and he's the military governor of Germany after the war, which also involved being in charge of the Nuremberg trials. So there's another interesting tie here. If you remember, his oldest brother, Herbert, is the mastermind behind the anti-Semitism that surrounded the Leo Frank trials. And then here you have his youngest brother, Lucius, who is in charge of the Nuremberg trials to get all of these Nazis, all these masterminds of the Nazi Party who were, killing mass amounts of Jews. So it's just such a, two sides of the coin.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
Crazy. So that's Lucius. And after the war, though, his impacts do not stop after that, because he becomes an aide to almost every president until the day he dies.
Yes, which is in 78.
78. He was very good friends with Eisenhower from the war, because, of course, Eisenhower was also a general. And Eisenhower, during his presidency, is known for the interstate system.
Yep.
Well, guess who came up with that and who implemented that? Lucius Clay.
Because he had saw how the Autobahn was working in Germany and was like, hey, let's do this in America.
Yes. So he had a major impact on American history and international history. He is regarded as a national hero in Germany and in Berlin. There's a statue to him. There's all kinds of things. And when the Berlin Wall came down, his family, who some are still here, his grandchildren, are here in Marietta. His family actually got pieces of the Berlin Wall because of that. And that piece, it's my understanding, is at Kennesaw State University.
Yes, it is. Yeah. All right, so Again, Lucius deserves it. I mean, he's had a whole book written about him. That's just how it works. So let's, I'm going to turn the camera around for just a second. We're going to go upstairs now. The other rooms down here are all kind of similar.
Yeah.
There is one library room that's kind of cool, but upstairs there are some people working, so we're going to try and not just bother them. But we're going to go through that we're going to go up the main staircase because like that's how we roll around here. So, all right, we're going to go up this one. And you guys, yeah, you keep telling me that if you can't hear me or Amy, just let us know. Sometimes our little mic packs just kind of take a sleep. But yeah, so these, they're not like super wide stairs, and they're not, I mean, the spindles and stuff are very just classic. It's nothing, I would, and even, oh, it's so much warmer in here than it was outside. But like even here, they're not, you can kind of get an idea. They're a little low, but they're nothing, there's not any ornate toppers or anything like that. So we're going to kind of go in the spots where there's nobody here so we can not interrupt.
Typically in homes like this, with the styles like this, the upstairs would have been the bedrooms. So we're thinking we got 1, 2, 3, 4 main bedrooms. But then there's some other offshoots and little nooks and crannies, so I'm sure they stuffed kids everywhere.
Those boys had to share. Evelyn got her own room though, I'm sure. So,
one thing they did say in one of the books was, so Fanny was a stickler for manners.
Oops, sorry guys, I didn't mean to do that.
Fanny was a stickler for manners, and so even though the kids were unruly, she was very proper, let's put it that way.
Oh, okay.
And so when they were down on the first floor, they had to be very proper and use their manners, but then they would come up to the second floor and all hell would break loose. And because she never came up here apparently except to sleep. So that was something funny, I thought.
So they're high ceilings, but what is interesting is I would have loved to have known if there was actually some sort of crown molding. It seems unusual that there's not.
Who knows? It's, there's probably so many renovations.
But you can see it's just the doors are very simple. But
I do think that this part of the fireplace is original.
The marble surround.
Marble slab.
Yeah.
The hearth area.
But the mantles are not super ornate. They're very lovely.
If they had tile originally, we don't know because none of them have the original
yeah.
tile anymore.
And actually though, if you look at these, look at how high the floor, not the floorboards, the baseboards are though. Those are like serious, a good foot right there. The flooring is a little bit different. This little closet area, it's a little bit wider. But you can see some of the beadboard, and there is another door. We'll go into that room in just a second. But again, there's nothing. It's nothing ostentatious or total. Oh, do you want to do that?
Sure.
Okay, guys. We cannot go into the attic, but we can. Amy did look, so don't worry. She got our fill.
I got as far as I can go.
Wait till you see this staircase.
This is the staircase to the attic, and it's pretty hilarious.
If you turn on the light, please.
Yes. Oh, you can't tell that much. Can you come closer?
I can. Hold on.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to kind of go down.
Stairs are.
They're
They're so high.
They are high and they are really, really steep.
Really steep.
But
watch me go.
yeah, so like they're really tall, really narrow. Do both of your feet?
There's no railings.
There's no railing. But it goes straight up.
Yeah.
Do both of your feet actually fit on one? Like side by? No. Look at that. Like that's it. It's about 2 feet wide, or her, that. But it's the width of her feet. But they're.
I do have narrow feet too. I've always been.
Oh, do you have narrow feet?
I do.
I did not know that.
I do.
Learn something new about her every day, everybody. Amy Reed's got narrow feet. My life is complete. I know this. But again, this room is kind of the same, fireplace-wise, or really high baseboards, and the windows. But I think it's what's the term? An understated elegance to it. Now these boards, again, you can just kind of see.
Well, this you can see where there was something tacked down, like a carpet or something.
I bet it was one of those, plastic thingamajiggies.
That wouldn't have left divots in the wood, though. This is like divots in the wood.
I don't know, those plastic things, those little things hurt when you keep rolling over it. Okay, so actually, I do want to explain this.
Yeah.
So this is the square window that Amy was pointing at way at the beginning of our video. This was actually an open air porch.
Okay.
So this was enclosed
This
later.
would have been a door with a window,
Yes.
probably.
And so in that 1899 picture, guys, this all would have been open, almost like a sleeping porch kind of idea.
Okay.
So again, there's a lot of stuff.
They're still in the process of moving because COVID hit and they had to stop moving.
What are you looking at?
I can't see because the light blinds
Well, that's
me.
not my problem.
What is this?
I don't know, but that's a Glover pattern.
Using Courier from 1920.
Oh, I saw that earlier. I didn't need to show that. But there's a Glover pattern for you.
No, we don't know if it's Glover.
It's
a pattern.
it is a pattern, but I wouldn't be
We
surprised.
don't know if it's Glover.
But again, I don't think you could. Oh, you can kind of see here that the windows are a little wavy. The glass is wavy. You can see it. I'm not going to put that on camera.
What this is.
So here's some more.
John Bacon. John A.
I don't know.
We
Yes.
found a ledger and we didn't know what it was.
The reason I didn't look, everybody, is because if I know it's a Marietta one and I can't have it, then I'm going to be really upset. So I just don't even get my hopes up, and I didn't look.
And
That's
I would
the
rather
reason why.
just know what it is and know it's here. But I don't know where it's from. It's
That's,
just,
yeah,
I
fine with
don't
me, but
recognize any of the names, so it's probably not local.
I don't think so. Okay, I'll let her just have her moment. Okay, so we're going to go in one more room. Again, this is upstairs. Very simple, but this room actually is a little bit, feels a little bit larger than the other ones. And it has this little other room on it. And I'll show you that in a second. But it's got a little door. I don't know what that goes to. Probably a little closet. But this one actually, Amy, if you can see, this one actually has brick. Did you notice that?
I don't know if it's brick or brick, the shaped tile. I think
Oh, I
I think
see.
it might be tile that's been painted over because it's so smooth. I don't think it's brick. Yeah.
I have my
It's
mask
that
on, but
size.
shock face. Who paints over
I
tile?
know.
Like-
Well, maybe it was ugly, but this slab, this arc here is
Maybe
also
it
original.
was ugly. I don't think if this was Fanny's room, Fanny would have had ugly stuff. I'm just saying.
Well, I
Just
don't
saying.
know. You never know. So if this was her room, or whoever's room it was, a potential use of this space, now we'll never know exactly what it was for, but a potential use could have been for her maidservant. Of course, this is post-war, so they are not slaves per se, but most people of this caliber did have servants in their house. And so this could have possibly been her bedroom because there's a connection to the main bedroom.
Yes.
There's a smaller closet over in the corner.
Yes.
But then you also have an exterior door that goes out to a hallway back there.
And that hallway goes
So-
to that back stairwell.
And goes to
Yeah.
the back stairwell, which is
Yeah.
often the servants' quarters or servants' entry up and down.
Yeah.
They often take the back stairwell. If you
So-
go to the Swan House at the Atlanta History Center, you can take a tour of their servants' area as well.
So this doorway right here probably would have been closed because that would have been the hallway to the servants' back
Correct.
area. Or if a child came in, needed to sneak in the house
That's a
after
good
being a
place.
while, that's the way you
Yes. Yeah, and it is definitely a back hallway that would, I think it's quite obvious it was used not publicly. Let's put it that
Yeah,
way,
for
by
sure.
either servants or children or whatever. But we can go that way. You want to go walk that way?
go. Oh, down those stairs?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
we can. All right, let me.
Because there's a whole nother stairway.
Yes. And actually, the funniest thing is that, hold on. The first time Amy and I were here, we thought the back stairwell was the front stairwell because it was like, oh, this is kind of nice.
Look at the back.
Oh, so here's that door that we were just talking about on the other side.
Interesting with stairs going up too.
Yeah, there's a couple of
so
stairs.
many different layers here.
Here's a bathroom. We all love a bathroom, right? The
Now-
flooring is amazing. Like, I want floor like that.
Yeah, and I don't know who put this in. It could be the White family, S.A. White's family, be my guess. They did say that the toilet used to match the mauve sink, but they had to replace
That's
it.
not mauve. That's like straight on cranberry, man.
Cranberry. Okay, cranberry sink. This heater unit over here, though, I mean,
Oh,
we
I
can
didn't-
date this too. It's got a neat little,
Oh, that's a cool little
yeah,
thing.
little heater in here for when you're, cold, so your tushy don't get cold. Beautiful
Aaron,
frosted
we
window.
love to talk about bathrooms. And
Who?
then
What? Let's not talk bathrooms.
Aaron said he'd not talk about bathrooms. I love to talk about bathrooms. I think it's great. So we're just gonna go down. I'm gonna have the camera on me for a minute, so everybody. Don't worry, camera's on me, everybody. All right. So whoop, steps. Hold on. I don't want to bother anybody.
No, you're good.
I can see this window. We're not sure if it's actually the original.
because the other side is a possibly an attic space originally. I
But
think.
this is the back stairs. It is more narrow than the other one, but it's got a little bit of detail. See, look at all this. Look at all this prettiness. I love a stairwell that turns and has a little fun. I have a feeling the children ran up and down that quite frequently.
Absolutely.
And then this is the back door to the park. But this is where, if I'm a kid, this is where I'm going to be. Nope.
Oh, sorry. Jeez. Walking right
Flipping
in. Now, you know what I think that was used as?
a place to hide the liquor.
No. I think it's the perfect spot for a little chair and a little telephone table. Possibly.
Possibly. So yeah, that is. Let's head back over to the front just so they can. You guys. So the marble flooring is not the original. We do know that came in later. But we're gonna go back into that front room. You're fine. Front room. Oh my gosh. All right. All right. Let me do this real quick. So.
Did we leave any of the? I mean, there's so many stories about this family that it's fascinating. If you really want to do the research on them, read that big old book on Lucius. There may have been a book published about Alexander Stevens Clay that we didn't come across. Maybe in our archives there's something written about him.
I haven't come across it. But also, I would like to note, I did tell you this. UGA has a special collection of Alexander Stevens constituency letters and things like this. Maybe the reason that they forgot to include the daughter in their list is because she didn't go and ruin UGA. I just thought about that. That might be the reason.
Yeah, maybe she wasn't noteworthy enough.
Noteworthy enough.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we have, it's a lot. We've gone through the house, we've done all of this.
Yes.
I thank all of y'all for sticking with
Yes,
us.
it's been a longer video, but again, there's just so many stories to so many of the people in this family. And like I said earlier, there are still Clays. Lucius's line. There's Chuck Clay is a lawyer in Marietta.
They all had kids except for Lex and Frank.
Lucius's son also became, and I don't remember his name, but he was a general as well in the military. Oh, was Lucius Jr.? Okay, well there you go.
He had two sons. They were both in the military though.
Okay,
Both
yeah.
of them.
Yeah, so long line of military service.
Yes. So continuing military service is our theme. Next week, we will be at the National Cemetery.
Yes. We've been wanting to go out there, and we're really going to focus not as much on the individuals who are buried there like we have in other cemeteries, but we're
there's two stairways, the front stairwell, and which would have been the one for the family to use and any special guests, and then the back one for servants and for the kids to sneak up when they were out drinking.
So next week at the National Cemetery, instead of focusing on individuals, we'll mention some of them, but really, let's be honest, every single person, even the unknown out at the National Cemetery, has a remarkable story of some type. And so we're going to be focusing more on the history of the site, the history of how we got a National Cemetery. What are the buildings there? What used to be some of the details that used to be there that are no longer there? And then some of the other more remarkable groups like the USCT, United States Colored Troops, that are out there, and some stories like that. So again, that's a really broad one. That one could be done over multiple videos, but we're just going to start with the beginning history. Going back to what I said at the very beginning of this video, big shout out to the Nick Schneider Law Firm for allowing us to tour through the house. We really, really appreciate it. Second, make sure to vote for us for those 4 categories. Voting best of Cobb through MDJ. Anna, if you're still watching, if you can link that. If not, I'll post one. It's best museum, best historic site, best place to take a tourist. Try not to hit this microphone. And the last one, which is the one we really, really want, is best virtual programming history loves company. Because Amy and I want to be winners, y'all. Yes, please. Help us win.
Yes.
Something in life.
Last but not least, we hope everybody has a wonderful weekend.
Yes.
It's supposed to be nice.
I thought you were going to say like a holiday. I'm like, am I missing a holiday? Okay.
No, that was last weekend.
Yes.
Thank you, Anna. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for sticking for a little bit extra long one, but it was so amazing.
Yeah. Beautiful house. There is a crawl space, and I didn't go in it, but if I do get in it again in the future, then I'll let you know what's down there. Just saying.
Okay.
Next time.
Next time.
Yes.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you next week. Bye.